Hey my friends, I'm Sergio Paez and this is another Story Chat. We're back with some live streams and I'm back right at you. We were doing this for a while last year in 2020 and it was really fun. My schedule got super busy and I was not able to continue it, but now I've opened up a window and I'm back with you guys. So hopefully you can join us with these Story Chats. I'm going to try and keep them consistent. And if you remember, if you're with us around the first time we kind of did this, I talk about a lot of things. I talk about storytelling in general. I talk about how to get into the business. And if you have no idea who I am and what this is all about, well, my name is Sergio Paez. I'm an animation director and a story artist. And I'm a founder of storyboardart.org, which is a visual storytelling community to help people get into the entertainment industry and tell better stories. We want to train people on how to become really good storytellers, visual storytellers, using art and the image to create awesome imagery and stories, okay? So what I like to do on these little chats is talk about, current events, talk about what's going on in the industry, maybe some of the trends. We end up talking about portfolios and how to do that, what to do when you want to apply to companies, how to design your artwork so that you're presenting yourself in the best way. And, I talk just in general visual storytelling tips, art tips, and I like to take your questions. So if you guys are there and have any questions, well, that's what I'm here for. Now, I don't have all the answers. I'm just maybe somebody who can either deflect or be a sounding board for what we do in the industry, but hopefully I can point you in the right direction. I will point out that we have a really solid team at the Storyboard Art community, and I'm not the only person handling this. So there are other really talented story artists that have my back and are supporting me doing this stuff. So hopefully you can join us and take advantage of what we have here. One of the things I want to just mention that I think is one of the pillars that we do at Storyboard Art, and just in general, I've done this all throughout my career, but it's talking about networking and connecting with other people so that you make that strong connection, you make a friend, really, you make a contact that you can either show artwork to, you can bounce ideas off of, or you can ask advice. And that to me has been so super valuable over my career. And I've been at this for a long time now. It's going on 30 years now. And I've been loving every minute. Now it's not easy, all right? It's never been something where you say, oh yeah, I finally made it and I can do what I want. No, there's a battle there. There's a challenge. But it's a worthy challenge. It's something that you want to get into and actually do because it's fun. This is something that you want to do as your, for most people, artwork and telling stories is something they've always wanted to do really young, if you're anything like me. And so getting into this is not easy. You have to deal with, a lot of the industry trends to understand how to navigate that. And you need support, and that's what we're here for, really. And the other thing I like to say too is that it is possible. If a kid like me, with dreams out of high school, who wanted to get into the film industry and work in animation, if I could do it, you guys could do it. I don't have any magic powers. I don't have any innate talent. Really, I don't. And I get how should I put this? I've done a lot of things in my career. Some of you might know the book that I wrote, which my co-author and myself, Anson Ju, who was my co-author on the book, Professional Storyboarding Rules of Thumb. A lot of you have found that book and contacted me through that, either through Storyboard Art or even contacted me directly, and got some good feedback. I'm really happy that it's helped people, have some clarity about what we do here. But even there, I admit, this is a process where you have to learn it. So I'm a real proponent of actually studying and learning these things. And that to me gives you hope, because if you're starting at the beginning, if you have no skills whatsoever, you have no experience in this whatsoever, you can learn it. Okay, it's just like learning another language. It's like learning music, right? You get a piano in front of you, and it's the first time you've ever seen that thing. How are you going to do it? You can click some keys and make some noise. When you want to make music, you got to learn and practice and practice and practice, and that's what we're here to do. Okay, so that's great. Anyway, big shout out to the guys that are joining today. Purple Inner W, how are you, my friend? Shadow Jacked, You're the man. Big shout out to Chad and Shadow Jack there, who's helping us out on the community side, who's been a real big supporter of us over the years, and now is joined up on our team. So really happy to have him. Thanks, buddy. So great. I'm glad at least there's some people out here joining us. You got a question? Let me go ahead and answer that right away. So you're talking about the cover letter of a storyboard portfolio. Let me bring this up on screen so you guys can see this. All right. So let's see. Purple's here is asking the cover letter of a storyboard portfolio. Should I make different ones for each company I'm applying for? So here's my take on this. It's a little bit of an extended answer. When you apply to a company and you're doing your story portfolio, one, I highly recommend you do your research on the company that you're going to apply for. Okay, so Nickelodeon is not the same thing as applying to Disney Feature, which is not the same thing as applying to Marvel Studios. Okay, and if you're going to do that, you want to tailor your work to that studio. You should do your research to see what kind of projects they are working on. And you could also see, if you do enough research, it's actually really easy to find what projects they're going to be working on in the future. So they always kind of announce the things that they're going to be doing 2, 3, 4, and 5 years down the line. And you can kind of see what the trend is, if they're doing action shows, if they're doing comedy. And that doesn't mean you want to necessarily copy what they're doing. What you do want to show are examples that would be relevant to that particular company. So if that company is going to be doing comedy for the next 5 years, well, you should show a lot of gag examples, and you should show those things that are tailored to that company. Like I worked a long time at Lucasfilm, and they were doing action stuff. It's Star Wars, right? So action, spaceships, sword fights, lightsabers, that kind of thing. And so you want to show strong compositions. You want to show good action, good staging, and just overall clarity of composition and film knowledge. And those are things that you would tailor to that company. Okay, so now you're asking about a cover letter for your portfolio. Here's a couple of things I recommend for doing that. What you'd want to do in your portfolio. Now, most of the time this is like a digital thing. So you would create a PDF version of your portfolio. That way you can easily print it out if you need to. And then at the beginning of that, I usually put a resume and then possibly a cover letter. Now, the cover letter to me usually gets emailed or uploaded to the company system when you're applying to a job. And yes, you should absolutely tailor your cover letter for each one of the portfolios that you're doing for each particular company. Now, I would spend some time on this because attention to detail is really important. So again, if you're applying to Nickelodeon, you want to research what they're into. Highlight what your benefits are for that particular production and that company, and put that in your cover letter. So how would you do? Let me give you a little bit of examples to kind of point you in the right direction. So if you worked on a couple of productions before and you were particularly good at doing staging and comedy staging and gags, you'd want to say that in your cover letter. And kind of relate that to the projects that they're going to be doing. Remember, you're giving a good service for other people. So that's something you want to do. So absolutely you want to tailor that to everybody else. All right, we're getting flooded with a bunch of questions. Let's just go down the line and talk about it. Fernando, how are you, buddy? How much have to be clean every panel on my first portfolio? So I think what you're referring to here is the level of finish and polish that you're putting into your storyboard panels. Hopefully that's the right question. If not, you can clarify me here. Okay, so here's where I would say it depends. Again, do your research. It depends on the type of portfolio you're doing. Live action storyboards tend to be more finished, tighter boards, comic book style, very tight, clean lines, very nice rendered images, which you might add color or tones sometimes. Versus story sketch work and continuity boards, which would be focused on feature animation, which you're doing each one of the beats of a particular scene, which means the speed at which you work will reduce the quality because you can't be doing tight rendered stuff on each panel. So it really depends on what your focus is And if what I just told you just went right over your head, hit us up on our Discord channel and find our community guys to kind of point you in the right direction. Because it's not just me out there. There's a lot of really strong artists who are very generous with their knowledge and can help you out. But the level of polish varies for each portfolio. And what you want to do is you want to show off your strong drawing skills, your strong composition, and organize it in a presentable way that's showing majority of storyboard in your portfolio. Okay, so don't put non-related material. It's not a good idea to put animation work in your storyboard portfolio. So hopefully that gives you an idea of what you want to do. All right, this could be an amazing podcast. Be my guest, Sergio. All right, thanks, buddy. Hit me up. I would love to find out what you guys are up to. Okay, let's go down. Saru Sketch here is asking another question. By the way, I love this. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. Okay, so what kind of sequences do you recommend we put in our portfolios? I heard from a Netflix recruiter that they'd rather see flashier boards, but I've heard from others that dialogue scenes are missing. So here's my take on this. Now, I should mention this goes hand in hand with some of the things that we do. We do a lot of story training. Okay, now right now we're leading a group in our mentorship program, which is myself and another really amazing artist, Nick Sung, who are guiding a group of ultra talented artists. I'm so excited about the work that they've been doing. And we've been talking exactly about this. One of my things that I emphasize is that in your portfolio, you want to have a complete presentation of your work to show how well you can fulfill the needs of that studio. We're talking film language, we're talking staging, that you're showing strong drawing, strong compositions. And when you're saying like a recruiter is asking for flashier boards, that's a very broad statement. So what do they mean by that? What flashy how? Like you want whiz bang action, or do you just want them nice and polished? Again, I think you're gonna have to do your research on that and see what Netflix show you want to apply to. The thing when you're talking about dialogue scenes, I really like to see that in a portfolio, that you have a handle on really strong dialogue that goes with a lot of character interaction, that you know how to stage that, because I think that's something that is missing. One of the things that we're doing now is we have the visual story course, and in that course we have a couple of lessons that we're doing. In fact, let me bring that up, and so you guys can actually find that. I have a little title card I'm going to put up on screen, so you can go to visualstorycourse.com and sign up for that. But one of the assignments there is Captain America and Superman having coffee. Okay, so it's not like they're blowing up buildings and having a big action sequence. It's the fact that they're going to have a cup of coffee together. How do you actually stage this? How do you make this a really unique and interesting storyboard scene? And it has to do with the way you shoot it, the way you compose your shots, how you create drama out of what you're doing, or comedy, or whatever it is that your focus is. And those are some things that are really, really fun and really interesting to do. So I invite you guys to come on there. That's free. It's open now. A lot of people have gone through it already, and that ties into our Visual Story Bootcamp, which is another course that we have. But anyway, these are resources that you guys can take advantage of, and this one is completely free. So hopefully that's something you can you look at. All right, we got another one for Purple. Here it is. Purple Sino W. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Okay, so should I put gesture drawings, a page or something in my portfolio? And if yes, how many poses? Thank you so much. You're welcome. Okay, so here's my take on gesture drawings in a portfolio. Now, again, this is my opinion. You're going to have to, kind of bounce this around to other people that you know in the industry. But here, when you do gesture drawings, I would love to see your storyboard panels have that gesture in them. So when you're doing your poses inside and you're drawing your characters inside your compositions for your storyboard, I want those poses to be very gestural and very lifelike. Show me that you have a strong command of figure drawing and the pose. If you have a separate gesture drawing page, that's okay. I would probably put that towards the end of the portfolio. But to me, that doesn't tell me the storytelling. I want to see story. And so when I see character designs or character poses in a portfolio, I want my personal kind of interest is to see that these characters have a story to them. So if you're going to draw a pirate and he's in a gesture pose, have him doing something. Is he finding treasure? Is he fighting somebody? If he's jumping off of a ship, right? Whatever you want to do with a particular pirate. But a page of figure drawings that are just academic studies are great. You should do that. But to put that in a portfolio, how much storytelling, how much personality does it say about you? That's my argument when it comes to gesture drawing. So how many poses, if you're going to do this, again, here's what I would do. Put your characters, if you're doing cafe sketches, for example, don't just draw somebody, looking at their phone in a cafe and drinking coffee. Put them in a scene, actually have some of the background, have the table, have like the barista and the coffee machine in the background, right? So that you make a story out of it, and you do that with a nice gesture, okay? Great, awesome. Shadow Jack is out there answering some questions here. Thanks, buddy. One of the things that I should mention is that, portfolios are one thing, but you should work on your skills to have really strong story skills before you start designing your portfolio. If you don't have enough material to show, no fancy portfolio is gonna to make it better. If you do have a lot of story exercises, it's actually quite easy to put a portfolio together. That's why I invite you to something like the Visual Story course, because there's 5 lessons there, and each one of those lessons will give you a portfolio sample, and you get the community stuff going on there. So let me pull up another question that came from David here. Bring this up on screen. David Chapman, what's the best advice you can give to somebody who's struggling to think of a story to tell for a storyboard portfolio piece? The best advice, my friend, is don't overthink it. It does not have to be like the most amazing story anybody's seen. What people are more into, that's valid if you have really good ideas. But I think what people are mostly into in a portfolio is the actual execution. They want to see if you have the skills to be able to create a nice tight sequence, that you have an opinion about storytelling, and that you have a filmmaking style, okay? So the actual story can just be a snippet of a longer sequence. It could just be the intro to a dialogue scene, or the intro to an action scene, because an action scene could take up hundreds of panels, and you don't want to put all of that in your portfolio. I recommend editing that down. So just really don't overthink it. When you say you're struggling to tell a story, man, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but come to the Visual Story course. Just sign up. You don't even have to participate that much. Just log the assignments. Take that and create your own version, right? Do your own interpretation. I threw one out there of Captain America having coffee with Superman, right? Superman can fly, right? You know that? Captain America cannot, but he's got a big shield, right? And he's strong. So some of the examples that you're going to see on our community page, like some of the things I suggest is like, since Superman can fly, put him in the air, right? And he's actually floating along, right? While maybe Captain America's walking, right? You could do things like that. That, just showing that those ideas is enough to show your execution. You don't have to actually come up with the next, amazing film concept. So don't overthink it, my friend. I think the other thing that you can do is you can repurpose stories. For example, take a fairy tale and do it in your own version. I would recommend that you make it your own. So don't just copy Disney's, Disney's Beauty and the Beast, or Disney's Snow White. Don't just copy their version, do your own. I think you'd want to change it enough so that you're not using those characters and you're coming up with something new. So even a superhero example that I just mentioned, you really want to make it your own, so it doesn't seem like you worked on a TV show. So some people like to do Batman and I've seen a bunch of like Harlequin examples, and that's cool. But then what could happen is you could get you could be mistaken for somebody who's actually worked on those shows. What I recommend is that if you're going to do that stuff, you twist it in such a way that it really does become your own work and it's very unique. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. Sip of water. Cheers, my friends. All right. Hey, Joe Williams. Hey, buddy. How are you? We got a question from Joe. Hopefully, you guys can also help answer this. Are there new or different places to look for recruiters post-pandemic? Meaning, has last year changed the way companies have shifted their recruiting strategies? Great shirt, by the way. Thanks, buddy. I think so. I think a couple of social, there's a couple social platforms that have come out that seem to be pretty strong. Now, I haven't looked into like a ton of them, but for example, Clubhouse is one that a lot of people are on there, and like Netflix has been posting a lot of information on how to apply and just pitch ideas, things like that. You get a lot of information. You might meet contacts there. It's actually a really valuable place. So I would recommend checking out Clubhouse. The other one is Discord. There's various Discord channels. We have our own that we just started recently. Thanks to the help of Chad again, who's doing a lot of awesome community stuff for us. But Lightbox Expo has their community out there, and also Bobby Chu and Schoolism. There's a Discord channel there. So there's plenty of communities that you can look for. Now, what I would do, that doesn't mean that recruiters are on there. What I would do there is connect with people and then expand your network. So it's just a good idea to just be active. And, hopefully that doesn't take over your life, right? Because we have to be busy working and creating art. So there should be a time set apart that we also spend on actual like business stuff and recruiting, or finding recruiters, finding jobs. But set aside some time. Like you could put, let's say, like a morning session of work, like 2 days a week, or maybe 1 day a week of doing that stuff. And hopefully, that's enough time to kind of do your research. And then you look forward to it, right? It doesn't have to be a drag and you sit there, oh man, another, recruiting session. I got to figure out what to do. It just becomes a little more natural. The other one I think is a little bit underrated right now is LinkedIn. I think that one is still, there's a lot of potential there that just the connections that happen, especially with the pandemic going, everybody's gone remote. And I think that's a trend that's here to stay, which in our case, I think it's a little bit of a benefit as artists, because we can have like a home studio and connect with other people. I know many artists, many artists who are doing that. And remote work is great in the sense that you don't have to commute. There are pros and cons to everything, right? But, one con would be that you're not with a tight group of people that you can exchange ideas or immediately solve an issue. You just walk to the other room. You'd have to do that virtually or call a meeting. But the good thing is that you don't have to commute, and you can sit down and work in your own space. And so there's a lot of benefits to that too. And plus, you can be anywhere in the world with a good, strong internet connection and be able to execute the work. I was recently traveling a bit, and I was doing just that, taking phone calls in my hotel rooms and Airbnbs and doing some work on the side. And it's possible nowadays. So that's all really great. Cool. One thing I want to do and just share with you guys is these, these kind of story chats, exactly this kind of format, but I also want to share like some of the things that I can do with this format. For example, let me just share my screen here and I'll show you what I got. I like to do a lot of like drawing demos, and some of you have seen some of my videos on YouTube and stuff, but I just wanted to talk about this real quick. And this is like a real basic idea. So, most of you guys know this, but I want to remind people getting into the visual storytelling stuff that everything should revolve around a composition and a bounding box. Like there's a rectangular frame, and this frame is what we use to compose the shots. Now, some people forget about this and they just draw the composition without actually composing it within a frame. This is actually really, really an important concept, because within the frame, you're gonna place the character. So let me do this on another layer, and that way I can adjust things if I need to. So let's say I draw a character's face, and whatever, it doesn't have to be anything fancy, but let's say I just draw, character with their mouth open, and they might be saying something, okay? And very simple, kind of close-up shot. So one thing that I can do if I do this on another layer, if I need to adjust anything, I can do that with these digital tools. So I can put them in the middle and just have a center composition, or I can put them on the right third, I could even flip him and put him on the left third. But, so there's room to wriggle around, but it's all based on that bounding box and the composition. So that's really just the basics of one of the principles that I like to remind people when they're doing visual storytelling stuff, because they might be coming from the world of illustration or concept design, and there the composition itself is not as important as what we do in actual visual storytelling. So the other thing is that you really want to take advantage of the visual composition. Like if you'd have a sun and a mountain range, you could have like a series of characters here, and you put them in the lower right third here. Maybe there's like a vehicle of some sort, but you're using the whole frame of the composition. So even though like the sun is up here by himself, I could compose this with clouds and everything that way, but that we're using the full frame, the full composition to actually get something done. So that's just one of the things I just want to remind people, that especially when they're going to do some of the coursework that we have in the visual storytelling course, or just anything for your portfolio. Just keep that in mind when you're doing it, all right? So this is some of the things that I'll get into more as we do more of these story chats, but I think it's really fun for me to just share some of these concepts, because I had to learn them. I learned them the hard way, and in the sense that you got to practice, draw every day as much as possible, and get a lot of pencil mileage to really get better. That's the only way you get better at this stuff, is practicing and repetition. So there it is. All right, cool. With that, I think, what I want to do as we kind of wrap up here is just mention a couple of things that we're into. If you're not a subscriber to Storyboard Art, I would recommend that you go check out the website, and you can register for free. And all you want to do there is look at the story resources. If you're not interested in taking the classes, that's totally fine. But I would recommend, as a resource, the community stuff there is so strong. Like, you're going to make connections and meet people just online who are doing similar stuff. And they're all levels of experience. Some of the guys are like really veteran people, and they're on there sharing their knowledge, which is awesome. Okay, that's really, really amazing that those people are doing that. But then you have total beginners. And they're there because we're all here to learn, and hopefully it's in a safe space that you're not going to feel intimidated by. You might see somebody who's got like 10 and 20 years experience and their drawings look amazing. You say, oh man, how can I possibly draw like these guys? How am I ever going to get anywhere? But you got to remember, they started somewhere, and they started 10, 20 years ago, okay? And they had to practice and practice and practice. The fun of this journey is actually doing the work. So don't forget that. That's something you got to keep central to the concentration of what you're doing, is practicing. When you see somebody's work and you're totally intimidated, spin it around and actually get inspired by it and say, man, I want to draw like that person. So what do I need to do? I'm gonna draw right now. And you pull out your sketchbook. Like, I always carry around a little sketchbook. Like, this is my little travel sketchbook. And let me show. Let me pull some. So like I was traveling recently. Can I show some of this? Is that out of focus? There's some of that. And I do doodles too, just like random sketches here and there. But the idea is that you just keep that pencil moving. Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you're drawing. Like, some of the stuff doesn't come out very good. Like, whatever. It's just, you just draw. You just draw to have fun, right? And that's really the idea. Okay, that will pay off. If you do it constantly, you're going to find out, one, hopefully you love it. You fall in love with this. It's like playing music. If you really love music, you're going to practice and you're going to want to do that. And same thing goes with art and storytelling. It is challenging. It is a difficult thing to do. But once you get into it and you get that bug, you're bitten by that storytelling bug, you're going to want to do this over and over again. Even if it doesn't come out great, you just do it again, and you try one more time, you do another version, and just enjoy the process. That's what it's all about. After a while, you're going to find you just naturally inclined to, you start making better decisions, things start coming faster, you don't have to erase as much, you have to do as many layers digitally, and that way it just comes out a lot, there's a lot more like free-flowing excitement that happens when you sit down and create these things. Okay, you're always learning. You got to be in that mindset of constantly learning. All right. Well, with that, my friends, I think I'm gonna end it there. I will pull up for those that want to join us. Check out the visual story course. This is a good like primer for people coming into visual storytelling. Maybe you're coming from another discipline like animation, concept design. Maybe you do 3D stuff and you want to actually learn more about the sequential art aspect of it. Well, come check out what we got at the visual story course. It's a nice, concise, and intense series of lessons. It's totally free. And there's a really fun community that's based around that, of guys putting up their work and showing things. And it just gets really fun when you see that. You're going to be inspired by it. So I recommend you guys go check it out. All right, then. I will see you guys probably next week with another of these story chats. Thanks for joining me. And in the meantime, if you want to hit us up, I would encourage you guys to check out the website at storyboardart.org, O-R-G, and sign up there. And then we'll see you in our community. So, all right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining us. And I'm out. We'll see you next time.